Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO slash VC podcast. Welcome to the show, Ciarán Burke.
Thanks very much for having me, Belinda.
No,
It's an
well,
honor
you're
to be here.
welcome. So you've got a bit of a mix going on. You're based in London, but you're Irish, and you've also lived in Sydney for 15 months. So we've got like a bit of a 6 degrees of separation connection there. So I love it. Everything's happening. But this is going to be the first time we're going to be doing a rapid podcast. We're gonna finish this in 21 minutes. So let's just get right on into it. You're keeping me right on my toes, Kieran, because you've got a hard stop, and I like someone who's like makes it very clear from the outset that this is what we need to achieve by the end of the show. So let's get right
Appreciate it.
on quickly on into it. You're the COO and co-founder of Swoop, which was started, you established it in 2018.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's a SME funding platform that helps businesses find loans, grants, equity, and savings via a single application and data-driven matches. Really interested about this matching piece. You co-founded the business with Andrea Reynolds, and it operates across, it's pretty huge. So a UK, Ireland, Australia, Canada, America, and South Africa. Tell us a bit about your journey, like how you came to get into Swoop. What brought you to Sydney? I'm always fascinated. Yeah, tell us everything.
Yeah. I suppose quickly on the Sydney side of things, I was coming towards the end of uni and a couple of different job opportunities, and some exciting ones in Dublin, but sunny Sydney definitely had its appeal. So I jumped to the chat. So I'd spent I think the summer in Kenya and then jumped on a flight straight to Sydney and started in KPMG there,
Oh,
which was on
cool.
Shelley Street at the time. And absolutely loved it and kind of came across with that into London, kind of where I've been since. In terms of kind of how Swoop came to pass, it's kind of a lot comes down to my co-founder. So she's always kind of been in the kind of fundraising space, principally kind of with McLaren, the Formula One team, and a lot of the spin out companies there
Wow.
were very capital intensive, being heavy engineering businesses. So you need to get creative when you're looking for money for those kind of
Yeah,
businesses. So
100%.
looking under all the couches for different grants, alternative finance, equity, so on and so forth. And I got connected into Andrea by my dad at the time, as I'd built out Hive, which is like a LinkedIn for people in the creative industries in the UK.
Oh,
And when I
okay.
was raising finance for that, that's when I got put in touch with Andrea, and she helped me on that side of things. And through getting to know me and what I built with Hive, it was a two-sided marketplace, whereas you creatives on one side, and you had companies like Google or BBC or Channel 4 looking to either crowdsource production or hire talent. And through building out that, I could see how you can build a two-sided marketplace. And Andrea really wanted to turn a lot of what she was doing at a human level into a product, because the problem wasn't particularly unique. People want cash yesterday, but they don't realize where all the pots of money
Yeah,
exist.
the big
So
yes.
as I started to understand the problem, I could see actually there's loads of data sets that can get connected into. So to make it pretty easy for a business owner to give us their data and then in turn show them all the different optionality that's available to them. So that's kind of essentially how we came together and came up with the concept, started the initial build, and the reason we started the business was there was a competition at the time run by the regulator in the UK and the nine largest banks around using open banking technology. So we entered that to kind of kick off the business.
How cool. And how did you come up with the name Swoop? Like what was the
Oh,
background around
months,
that? Was that
months,
yeah.
months of like going backwards and forwards for text message being like, that's shit, that's terrible, I hate that name, that's awful. Just like a lot of just constant, like I still have like the original messages and you'd be sending me and it's like, oh, that's so bad, that's so bad. And then Andrea was kind of Googling one day and she's like, kill bird with one killing two birds with one stone. And then underneath it was like in one fell swoop. And she's like, swoop. I was like, yes, that's definitely it. Because like it resonates so much, because what we want is in one fell swoop. Give us your data once and then come on the journey with us, and we'll help you with any financial product thereafter. Because we understand you're going to change as you're a small business. Not everything is linear. It's a roller coaster. Things are terrible sometimes, things are amazing other times. And as such, your data is going to show those kind of peaks and troughs. And there's always going to be different options along the way. So what we want to do is be there with you and show you in one fell swoop all those options
Love
as
it.
you change as a business.
Yeah, how cool. And in terms of then the two-sided marketplace, can you explain that a little bit to the audience, just for people that don't know? I mean, I know what it is, but like how that works, because the Swoop piece kind of is, that's the whole, the matchmaking bit comes into it as well. Like I'm calling out matchmaking, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but
yeah,
it is.
yeah,
You've got people over here. You've got your business owners who want access to funds, and then you have your supply side, which is your banks, your alternative lenders, your investors, your grant agencies that have cash that they want to deploy, but they ultimately want to deploy to a certain type of business at a certain type of stage. So not all of these suppliers are equal. They don't all have the same product, and they all have challenges when going to market and distribution and
yeah,
getting access to these business owners. So that's kind of where the marketplace element comes in, where you're connecting the supply side to the demand side, and hopefully giving them a seamless experience where they can
yeah.
find each other easily and talk to each other. Not always as easy as that, but that's ultimately the kind of tech part of our business, trying to make that a bit more efficient and a better experience every day.
And with AI coming in, right? Because you mentioned, and I'm sorry I called her Andrea, but Andrea, it's the Aussie in me calling her Andrea. You mentioned the word human and this human aspect to it. I mean, when it comes
Yeah,
to my background's advertising communications, and I'm all about, matching people, and even when you were like when you have your clients, you want to make sure you've got the right people with the right client from a personality perspective. How much does that play a role in what you're doing now, and has AI fueled it? Like, has it helped like better matchmake? Like, for example, like a SME, not every SME business is the same. Everyone's different, and so then you've got all these suppliers on the other side. How do you
yeah,
make sure it fits to give it them the seamless, all in one swoop, kind of, I guess, and it's not perfect. It never is, right? But there's, for me, chemistry, that matchmaking piece, like, and you've got the data points. There's still a human component to all of this. Tech, you can have the best tech, but there's got to be like that. You know what I mean?
yeah. AI has been an amazing accelerant for us. Like, we were very fortunate in some ways to build a business and grow good volumes. So like now you'll have 320,000 small businesses connected up into Swoop with about 3,000 suppliers on the other side. So we had a very established and big database where we were always kind of collecting and connecting data into accountancy software or bank accounts. But all of a sudden when AI arrives in, you've got this amazing capacity to suck up an infinite amount of information. So whereby maybe we might receive like 1,200 documents uploaded a day, financial rich documents like bank statements or management accounts, and you might use them to help a transaction move along. But all of a sudden, you've got this big bang moment where every single one of those documents that you've ever collected in time gets brought to life,
Yeah, how
like as
cool.
if it's an integration and you're getting it on an ongoing basis. But what that means is you can be so much more accurate in terms of how you match or understand a
Yeah,
customer. So with our data team, we launched our own Swoop score, which is like a proprietary score, just based on every single successful and crucially unsuccessful transaction. Because sometimes on the supply side, they're eager to meet and see everyone, but the percentage of which they'll actually fund, particularly on things like equity, is super, super tiny. So if we can look and study all that information relatively quickly now, thanks to AI, we can be a lot more accurate and predictive as
yeah,
to
cool.
what your probability of
Yeah.
getting funding is, and then help you steer towards the ones that have, from a data perspective, have past behaviors in funding businesses like yours. So that's been an amazing kind of accelerant for us. But there's definitely always a human element to this, and I don't see that ultimately changing for a long time. So it's how they can kind of manage and use that data and information. Because if you boil it down to its most simplistic level, these business owners are taking hundreds of thousands, if not millions, into their business. yes, we can absolutely automate the hell out of $20,000 or $50,000 going into the bank account. That's fine. But if you're the business owner, you're going to want to have a conversation with
100,
someone
yeah,
before
100%.
you
Handing
decide
over
to take.
or taking, yeah.
Exactly. And similarly the same on the supply side as well. So we have to be super cognizant of that. So as you're studying and analyzing the data, you're still wanting to connect them with where we've got the customer facing side of our business, where they're in like subject matter expertise, whether they're property orientated, asset orientated, equity orientated, grants orientated. So when those businesses do come through and they can analyze those applications, they can add real value at the latter stage of the transaction to kind of give them insights and comfort as to applications that have gone before, and an insight and an overview of how those banks or lenders or funders operate.
I love it. And you called out the human and I called it out as well. What are you seeing as the biggest trends with, I mean, you called it out before, there's the highs, the lows, there's all the in-betweens when you've got a small business or your SME, small, large, whatever. But like, what are you seeing as the biggest kind of, I guess, challenges, but also opportunities right now, given the state of the world, the state of the economy, the political, stage that we're in, like everything, like there's so much complexity, there's so much ambiguity, so much is uncertain. What are you seeing as I guess the top three? I'll say top three, top two or three. We've got 10 minutes to go, by the way, so I'm staying up, keeping us on track.
Uh, yeah, I mean, quite hard to answer like all in one go,
No, I know.
because you have so many different funding lines. I think, and we've also got loads of different markets, so
Mm,
it does change per market. But ultimately, if you are a business owner, you're in a time period where you've never had access to more liquidity. General statement, but it's probably true. Like there's never been more pots of money between banks, alternative lenders, investment funds, grant agencies, private competitions. Like you've never had liquidity like it relative to any period that's gone by before. Notwithstanding, there's obviously headwinds with geopolitical tariffs, all that thrown into the mix. Undoubtedly that as well. But from a liquidity access to pockets of money, it's absolutely out there. Now, how you access that money has changed fundamentally. I'm sure people have many stories of them going into their bank with a piece of paper and then them just giving money and off the back of an idea or a concept. Like that's just doesn't exist anymore, and probably rightfully so. You need to
yeah.
show why you're worthy of receiving funding and why it makes sense. So I think that's where people talk about the pain and why things came true. But ultimately, there's more cash than ever if you can showcase why you can get access to it. From a lending perspective, I think it's a bit of an education piece for a lot of business owners out there, because traditionally you're always just thinking about your local bank. I'll go down the high street, there's the branch there. Most big banks aren't set up to fund on a one-to-one basis,
Mm,
or build a one-to-one relationship with small business customers. So if you're trading between 100,000 and 20 million, that just service isn't there for you anymore.
mm,
And unfortunately, what happens a lot is that business owner will go to their bank and they'll get rejected, and they'll just stop there. They'll think, oh, loan funding isn't for me. My bank said no. Where in actual fact, there's a whole world out there of non-bank lending,
yeah.
that's huge, and there's so much optionality there, and a lot of them is set up for specific niches or verticals, whether you're in e-commerce and looking and trending in your Shopify data and being able to advance you funding against that you can pay out of future earnings that you're going to get from your e-commerce store. Or it's people that are looking at like asset heavy businesses that are purchasing
Mm,
machinery, vehicles, and instead of maybe making those purchases, looking to lease them, which helps them from a cash flow perspective. You have organizations that have long invoice cycles where it takes forever for their big
yeah.
payers to pay you. That's where you've got things like invoice finance that can help advance that cash, so they never have to think about those long payment cycles. So it's an education piece to understand actually there's a whole world of financing options out there available to me that want to give me money that will suit my business model. So that's often the challenge there. It's not that the cash doesn't exist, it's educating them as to which what does exist and which one is relevant
Yeah,
to my business.
yeah, and for me, it's also like it's old world and new world, right? Because we're so wedded and so used to the big banks, and there's safety and there's security and there's all of that. And when what they say is gospel sort of thing, like we've all been
Yes,
a
yeah,
little bit
yeah,
institutionalized with banks, and yet what you're talking about here is a completely new model. And so it's like, and it's education, it's again, it comes down to trust, safety, connection, all of that. I want to completely switch it up now. And I'm noticing
yeah.
how much energy you've got, and I can see it, I can feel it because I'm exactly the same. When I've got 150 million things on the go, I can't sit still, and I'm like,
Yeah,
so
that's me.
how do you? Yeah, totally. I'm reading you like I can just totally read like a book because I'm sitting here purposely just going, yep, this is me. Like,
Yeah,
how do
yeah, yeah.
how do you juggle it all? How do you like what grounds you? What keeps you present at times when you have so much on the go?
Yeah, and to be honest, like being completely transparent, I'm not very good at it. I wish I was way better being like I'm just like I'm terrible at it, and I actually feel I'm getting worse to be honest with you. And I need to clock myself, particularly like when you're out of the work mode and you're just like, come on, brain, like let's get in the fucking
Yeah,
room here.
yeah,
And to be honest, I do struggle with that. The one thing I don't struggle with about getting present is sport. Like I love it so much, so I play a stupid amount of it, like between football, tennis, paddle, running, anything like that. So I always make time for that, and I absolutely love that because it completely checks me out and focuses in that
yeah,
area.
getting in the flow.
Yeah, but I must say sometimes I'm pretty bad at the other stuff, and I need to get better.
Yeah,
To
but
be
like,
honest.
does when you're playing sport though, right? Does that give you like if you've had a full day where you're just like meeting after meeting, like going 100 miles an hour, if you then jump into sport, does that give you then like, do you sometimes, I find if I've got 150 million things on the go and I'm kind of coming out of work, feeling exhausted or just like cooked and I can't solve a problem, is it when you get into sport that sometimes
Yeah, it's so good.
the answers come?
Yeah, it's so yeah, completely like because sometimes you have those days where you're just like, oh, fucking on treadmill 20 here, and like there's just another thing coming at you, and you're getting to the end of the day, and you're like, motherfucker, another thing's come in, and you're just like,
Totally.
Christ, and you're just so wound up, and you're like, oh, I wanted to do this, this, and this, and now I have to do this, this, and this. But it kind of really hit home. I was playing tennis with a buddy last week before work, and just took the time to, I think it was like 8 a.m. or something like that, but just took the time, had like coffee afterwards, whatever. Fucking, there was no problem. No problem. I was there. I was like, you just come. I was like, I will deal with anything now. So it's just like make time for those moments, and
Yeah,
everything else way more easy, way more manageable. You're like, yeah,
yeah,
I'll breeze through that. I'll
yeah,
sort that out. Whereas
yeah.
like the night before, you're like, you're ready to like split heads and
Yeah,
yeah,
totally. I
no
purposely
bueno.
asked this question because sometimes we need the reminder. Like you're holding a mirror up to me at times, like like I burnt out everything. But I mean, I pushed the envelope out on Sunday night, working till 1:30 in the morning, and it cooked me. Like I'm just like, but I had
Yeah,
to get all this stuff
yeah,
done, and then I was a mess on Monday. But I still kind
yeah,
of, and so we're always practicing when you're like a type A personality, high achiever love, love the adrenaline, etc. It's just that reminder that we can do it. And if
yeah.
sports your thing, sports your thing. What would be one, we've got 4 minutes, so I'm just going to ask you one. No,
Sorry about that.
actually, no, that's okay. When I booked in for the pod, I'm loving this because you're actually like, you're giving me ideas around how to do speed podcasting and like for people like this is a fun one actually. Oh, they're all fun, but just all
Yeah.
different. I told you we got the flow. When you booked in for the podcast, I asked a question around what would be one piece of it, what would be one insight, lived experience when it comes to life, leadership or investing? Or what would it be? Or what would be one piece of advice you would give, whether it's someone starting a company, their own as a startup, or yeah, what would be a piece of advice for
Yeah,
you?
I think also at the beginning it's so important to tap into the naivety. It's
Yeah, I
such a
like that.
strength. It's such a strength. I love, obviously you can tell I've touched on love energy.
Yeah.
So I would hate to see anyone's energy jaded because it's that pure unbridled energy and enthusiasm and most of the time naivety that's going to get you flying out of the blocks. Whereas if you drown yourself in scenarios and over analysis, then you might lose your confidence. You might not take the opportunity. And like the good thing about going really, really fast at the beginning is you'll make a load of mistakes, but you learn from everyone those makes so that when you do make that one or two good decisions, you'll absolutely nail them. So embrace the naivety.
I love it. I haven't had anyone talk about naivety like that. So it's awesome. How do we find out more about you, Ciarán? How do we find out more about Swoop funding?
Yeah, pretty simple. Swoopfunding.com. And yeah, as you rightly touched on, we help businesses across Australia, Canada, US, UK, Ireland, and South Africa. And yeah, if you are a trading business and you're interested in accessing lending, investment, or grants, we can definitely help you out. We've helped raise over 2.5 billion so far for businesses. So we think we've got a really good platform and access for businesses to access funding, and so we'd love to help as many businesses out as we can.
Love it, love it. Well, we finished right on cue and
Super. Thanks so much, Belinda. Appreciate
no,
it.
it's been awesome chatting with you. Thank you so much. Have fun playing that sport later today.
Will
Every
do.
time you play sport now, you're gonna be like, oh, B, she called it out.
Yes. Yeah.
Go have that
Super.
coffee,
Have a
play the
lovely.
tennis in the morning. Do that, do it. Let's
Yeah.
see what it happens. Have a
Yeah.
wonderful
Love
day.
it.
Thank you so
You
much,
too.
Ciarán.
Thanks so
Take care.
much. Cheers.
See you.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye
Take
bye
care.
bye.
Bye.